It's funny, like John Suntress has said to me a few times, like when he does panels, he's like, I make it clear, nobody's allowed to record my panels. That's my intellectual property, you can't record my panels.
No, that's his privilege.
Right, and in fairness, it's funny because I've heard some people get pissed about it, and I'm like, yeah. The only thing I said to John is, well, what if I'm recording it for my own personal use? And I'm not planning on putting it anywhere where anybody else can see it except me.
Yeah. Or if you want to live tweet bullet points, you can do that.
Yeah, and that's the funny part that I kind of laugh about is you're almost better off doing that. But people take video because they're thinking they're cool and they're giving you live on the scene, Yeah. I mean, by Ivan's logic, those times that I went last year when I went to go see Hugh Jackman, and I pretty much put a couple of songs up from Hugh Jackman because I was watching him live, and I put them on my Facebook. By Ivan's theory, I owe Hugh Jackman money.
Well, I know, like I said, when I saw Weird Al a couple times in the last few years, well, actually just the one time, was it 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago. But anyway,
I don't know.
There are people who are like, there was a dude in front of me, recording, every song on his phone. I'm like, dude, just put it down and enjoy the show. I took a couple of quick still shots at the end, just to put, to get the likes and social media and all that. But I didn't record any video.
I did. I did for J-Lo and I did for Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Okay.
But I picked certain songs.
Yeah, but that's the thing, cool thing too. Or last year when me and Ivan went and saw the Cybertronic Spree at the Beat Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some of those YouTube. I've watched somebody in my show recorded those couple of those songs, and I play them back through YouTube. It's like, man, it's like living back. They did a couple of really good tracks. Like I'm replaying them.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know. It's funny we were talking about this now with the intellectual property thing because it's weird because it's like it's especially now with phones because it's weird because it's like, okay, where's the fine line of what's legit and what's not, and what's okay and what's not? Like I said to you before we came on, I went to a show. It's like, you put on Facebook Live, you play a song or two, it's okay. Now if you're gonna live stream the entire freaking show. Although then again, let me ask you this. What's the difference between that and if I live stream an entire fireworks show?
Well, fireworks, most of the time, admission is free.
I guess that's true.
It's in the air. It's pretty much public domain when you shoot it up in the air. It's like, hey, look at me.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, although we have our local municipality, they charge admission to be because there's a ground show. At the finale at the end.
There you go.
But most people can see from around.
Yeah.
All the up in the air, the big stuff that goes up in the air. But
do you really want to be around for the ground show?
No, because it's just a bunch of little stuff and.
Well, and God forbid it ever goes wrong.
You put the plastic up like the Gallagher concert. The plastic will protect you from the flames and the explosions.
It will?
Sure it will, yeah.
I don't think so.
Work to protect you against the Sledge-matic from Gallagher.
The other thing is, it's the part where it's like, okay, if you're all the way in there watching that stuff and then it's time to go, then you gotta wait forever to get out of that parking lot. And everyone
wants to get out of the parking lot at the same time. And
God. Yeah. And the worst part is you always, is one of the few, it's like, because you want to stick around and be like, forget it, we'll just hang here for a bit and who cares? But there's always the one person who's like, oh, come on, let's go. Or
right when it's over, yep.
Or it's too buggy, or unfortunately it's like somebody's gotta go to the bathroom suddenly and all the porta potties or anything is gone and you gotta go. That's like, jeez. Not that it's gonna help you if you get to the car because you're gonna be stuck.
You're waiting to get out.
Yeah. But you always have the one person where it's either too buggy or the one person who's like, come on, let's go. And it's like, why?
I guess the movies in the park is starting up in Chicago. They'll be showing movies in the park. And they canceled the Chicago Marathon in October.
And Soldier Field. I guess Soldier Field's doing movies, right?
Nice.
Is that what the deal is?
That'd be cool.
I think. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Kelly Preston the other day because there was drove past the local outdoor here, and they had an Arnold double feature, which was Twins and I forget the other one. It wasn't Kindergarten Cop. It was another one.
Oh no.
It wasn't kind of actiony. I forget which Arnold it was.
Was it Arisa?
Might have been either the Running Man or wasn't Terminator or Conan. It was some other one. Might have been Kindergarten Cop and Twins because they're really going family oriented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, who was in Twins? That hot chick was in Twins. Was the love interest for Arnold, and it was Kelly Preston. I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's terrible.
And then she's in that one scene, and then she's in Jerry Maguire, and she's years later, and she's absolutely, they have the one scene in the press box, and then she punches him. She punches out Tom Cruise, and Jerry Maguire. So yeah, but
and for that alone, we salute you. And,
seriously,
rest in peace. Kelly.
Well, the amazing thing is, she had a career. John Travolta had a career, and they were together, and they were both in Hollywood for how many years? Like 2 decades, right?
Yeah, they had 3 kids.
Almost 3, right? Well, and one of them died, though, right? That's what I heard.
Yeah, one of them died of a seizure or something. They were on vacation or something.
Something crazy like that.
Very tragic.
But, yeah,
they were together a long time.
But you don't hear a lot about stuff like that. You don't hear about two people like with that kind of longevity for Hollywood, for something like that, for stars or something like that. Because
we all hear about like how many times J-Lo got married or how many times Liz Taylor or whatever.
Right,
celebrity marriages,
I mean, there are a few where it's like, okay, that one seems like it's going to last, and every, then they get to about 8 to 10 years, and it's like, and you're like, oh, really? Wow,
yeah,
that sucks.
Or the thing with Goldie Hawn and
Kurt Russell.
They've been together for like 50 years now.
Yeah, they've been together a
long time. Since the 70s, I think, early 80s. I forget.
Something like that.
Yeah.
80s. Yeah. I want to say 80s.
Something lasted like that. Some celebrity marriages, they rarely last that long, so.
It's like, now it's like, because really in reality, like the Bruce Willis Demi Moore one did go for a while. It just was all of a sudden then it was poof, just like that, boom. I
remember I was in broadcasting school, and when Bert and Lonnie broke up, and that was the
that was the thing.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
That was a huge bombshell.
Yeah, she is.
Lonnie Anderson. She's still alive, Lonnie Anderson?
Is she still around, maybe?
I don't know, maybe.
She kind of disappeared after a while. But, it's funny you say that. What was I? I think I said the other day on my Facebook that my goal was to be a 6-time winner of the Buckeye News Award. Mike doesn't get the reference.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Les Nessman, the news guy from WKRP, his big claim to fame was he was a 5-time winner of the Buckeye News Hawk Award.
Okay.
I don't look, if you're a radio guy, you pretty much love that. Well, most radio guys love that show.
I was a little too young to appreciate it when it aired. I mean, it was around, it was in reruns. Mm-hmm. Remember, but I never latched onto it.
It's even funnier once you've been in radio.
Yeah.
To watch it back, like the guy on Sunday morning, like the Reverend Little Ed, who's like the professional wrestler, and he's selling like the Dead Sea shower curtains. And it's like, and you're like, I know those people. I know all those people.
Yeah.
They were on every station I worked on.
So how was your week? How was your weekend and all that?
How was my weekend? Quiet. Kind of quiet.
We had some nice weather, although it finally got nice for Sunday. It was really warm last week.
Yeah, no. I did a lot of storytelling last week. I was out, virtually, did a lot of storytelling last week. I did one Monday during the day, and then I was at some place called Do Not Submit on Wednesday night, and I was there, and I did like a 7-minute piece. And then I didn't tell, but I went to go see The Moth, which is the competitive one that I've been thinking about trying to get into and check that out. And then Friday morning, I was at a group called The Cocoon, and I did another piece. So I've been out doing some storytelling. I just never know when I'm going to go, hey, I'll be like at the last minute. Sometimes it's the last minute thing. Otherwise, I would give more dates and details on the Squares page. But usually it's kind of like a last minute thing. So I've been out virtually doing a bunch of storytelling shows, and it's been kind of a blast. It's been a lot of fun.
See any movies or anything of note?
Anything new? My problem is new at this point. New is harder than it's been in a while because it's like
new content is hard to come by.
Unless you get, I almost hate to say it, it's like I almost need to get like a new service. You know, like I either need to go get like Netflix or I need to get Amazon to get something new.
The new content is out there, but it's just you gotta look for it a little bit.
Right, or Hulu or something like that. It's like I almost have to go get one of those to get anything. I mean, there's just not. Yeah,
now that we're in this drought of new content, I think maybe there's some things we need to scratch off the list of shows that maybe we should have latched onto.
Right, and I think that's where I'm at too. Like that's the other thing. That's kind of where I'm at too. Where it's like, okay, you know, maybe now's the time to finally get to Breaking Bad. Because that I can get to.
Yeah,
like Breaking Bad.
I've only watched the last 2 episodes, and I've been meaning to maybe someday go back and watch from the beginning because I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I like Bryan Cranston. I like Bryan Cranston back in the day. And this is gonna make me sound bad. I like Bryan Cranston back in the day from Malcolm in the Middle when he was the dad, Malcolm's dad, and it's amazing to see the transformation of where he is now. It was funny. He did a movie with Kevin Hart, and I can't remember who else it was.
Yeah, it was some dramedy.
Yeah,
where he was a disabled person. Yeah,
right, and it was good where he was a disabled person, and Kevin Hart was ended up being like the nanny type guy, and it was pretty good. It was fun. It was interesting. It wasn't all comedy either. It was a nice movie. It was pretty good for both of them. You know, Kevin Hart got to stretch his legs a little bit as much as he could. You know, he's kind of short.
Yeah. He's just more than just a one note. You know, he has some range. You know.
Right, and eventually that always seems to happen. I think, right? Anyway, but hey, by the way, welcome to Squares the Roundtable podcast. We didn't actually
welcome. 108.
Yes.
108. We get 108 degrees next week.
Yeah, seriously, wow. Yeah, obviously, I'm Jeff Stein, and with me is Mike Boyle.
Greetings.
And Mike
Ivan Vera may or may not be joining us. I don't know. We'll find out.
Mike Edwin's on the board.
I'm keeping. We're Jive and Ivan is possibly in the ether somewhere. We're going to try and find him, pull him from the internet into our.
We could have a séance.
Yeah, we could.
We could have a séance. We could pull out a
couple of Pat Boone records and burn them in a pentagram and see if we can summon him. Now he's made his peace with Pat Boone, I guess.
Has he?
Yeah, he says he's found a couple of deep cuts from when he used to do, and he said he really liked them. So, but that's how I'd get him. And every time he'd be late to the radio station, I'd just play "April Love" by Pat Boone on a loop, and that would just drive him nuts as he's driving into the station during the show.
Oh, that's cold.
It is. Yeah.
That is.
And it didn't even have to be in the month of April. So anyway, Ivan will be joining us hopefully later in the show. But in the meanwhile, well, at least anything else, I know we'll talk about Stargirl. I got caught up last week, and man, that show that does no right being as good as it is. In my opinion, I'm enjoying it a lot.
Like I said, my biggest concerns. Well, we'll talk. I guess we can talk about it later. But my biggest concerns are with it going to CW.
If it's going to suffer budget wise.
Yeah, what are we going to end up losing because of that? And I'm not sure. and that's the frustrating part. Is we don't know where we're going.
It's like Stripes, the giant robot in the garage. It's just sitting back there like the last 2 or 3 episodes. No, we saw it a bit 2 episodes ago, and now it's just been like in the training room. Oh, incoming call from Ivan Rivera. Let's see if we can. Come on, man. Hey!
You're late.
Good evening.
I could always leave. I didn't hear the phone.
Oh, okay. You didn't hear the phone?
No.
Oh, I tried the Skype. I was Skyping multiple times after 7:30, but okay. Well, welcome, Ivan. How you doing?
Yes,
I'm doing good.
Good.
What
were we talking about? Yeah, we're talking about Stargirl. The budget constraints of it coming to CW is going to be a problem. Hopefully, hopefully not, but we'll see. So, Ivan, how you been? How was your week?
My week was good. I mean, not real eventful. Just kind of leaning back and just going through the records and just getting things together. As the endless quest of weeding out the fat of my collection. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
So just got done doing all of my 50s records. So now I'm about to go through my Chicago records, and next are going to be doing all my doo-wop records. So it'll be interesting to see how many dubs and trips I have all over the place as far as like extra music goes. I'm about to send a care package to my friend Steve Majors. Hey, shout out to Steve C. Majors. And getting him a care package stuffed with a whole bunch of really nice doubles that I used in my DJing career. And they still play great and everything. And I don't need 3 and 4 copies of the same record. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm always upgrading.
Sure you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, Ivan doesn't display them; he plays them.
I play them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you want a really, really mint copy for when you want a special occasion or whatever, and you want one ready on the go.
Right. So, exactly.
A duplicate, a backup.
So for the people listening, Ivan, you said you kind of cleared up your entire 50s collection, right?
Right.
How many records is that?
Okay, that's roughly in the area of 5,000 records.
Just the
See,
50s?
that's the part you need to explain to people. People don't understand when we're talking about you have a record collection. You have a record collection.
He sure does.
I mean, people think, they say to me, oh, Jeff, Ivan can't have records stacked all over his apartment. I said, yeah, he can. Yeah, he can.
You seen his Instagram? I mean, that's true.
Exactly. When you see the stuff on the Twitch TV or the Instagram pictures, or you look at my Facebook pictures, yeah, that's the deal. That's the real deal. And I have records stacked all over the place. I mean, I've got the doo-wop, the Spanish, and the Motown stuff here in the bedroom. I have 15 crates, tubs, big black and yellow tubs, filled to the brim with all manner of different genres and different decades. I also have clear plastic tubs, also filled with, in fact, as of right now, and, before I realized that it was 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, why haven't my buds called me yet? And I was in the middle of, going through my Black Label 50s records. And, now a lot of people have a way of categorizing records. Some do it by year, some do it by label, some do it by decade. For me, in order to weed out the doubles and such, I do it by color, label color. So, in other words, red, white, green, orange, blue, light green,
Yeah, but the genres don't always match the color. So doesn't that make it confusing?
No, what happens is that, being in the 1950s, what I do is what happens is once I get all the colors lined up, then I separate the artist, then I separate the genre. And from there, that's when everything goes to their respective places. That's why, I stay within a decade frame instead of trying to go cross decade, because then that would lead to a world of confusion, because you also have a situation.
I like that band.
When you have a situation where you go ahead and you try to work out that type of system. I mean, it's everybody's got their method of madness to doing certain things. When you try to explain it to other people, it almost seems like you're MacGyvering certain things. This is my MacGyver system of organization. There is a method to my madness, and it works because what happens is that as I'm putting the records all in the same color key, I'm noticing that, all right, some of the artists, end up coming up in the doubles and in the triples, and then once I've separated those artists, that's when I find I do have indeed 2, 3, sometimes 4 records of varying different conditions. And so what I do is then I separate the A class, which the A class is the display class. The B class is the work class. That's the class that goes out on the road with me. And then what happens if I end up losing any of the B class records to things wearing out or breaking or stuff, and then I go ahead and I grab the A class until further notice.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I play it forward to new disc jockeys who are looking for particular records. Then I put out what I call the C class, which is the ones that are out of circulation, and those are the ones that I give. And they're usually of very good to mint minus quality, which actually they still have a lot of life to them, especially if they're made out of the pure vinyl product and not the styrene product, which is a compound of a harder plastic and a wax, which has a tendency of breaking down after fewer plays. Basically it's the cheaper of the two pressings. Some people will swear by styrene. Me, myself, my personal preference, if I could find it on a vinyl and an actual plastic copy, I would rather have that. But a lot of times you get a lot of labels that just bypass that product. They bypass that vinyl and they go right straight to the styrene, and then you just have to pick and choose your battles with it. Because the styrenes, though, may look good on the surface, don't always play as well once you put the needle down in them. Because they don't show up on the top of the surface, just how worn out they truly are. They'll still look shiny, they'll still look great. But then you'll drop the needle in them and then they're just like, they're tore up on the inside from, overplaying or wear and tear or the wrong size needle or, the needle that's too heavy. And it's totally distorted and just very, very hard to work with. I make an allowance for certain styrenes depending on age and availability until I can get a better copy, or if indeed I end up having the luck of the draw, which happens a lot with me, where I end up getting, minty, styrene records, to which then I lighten up the needle, weights, the tone arm weights, and then
I
play
usually use that when I floss, by the way.
Yeah, So that way, I play with a lighter needle. They have a little bit more life to them if I do it this way.
So you're going through the collection, but are you having the problem where, like, I thought I had this record, but I'm not finding it, so now I got to add it to my wanted list?
You know what?
Well,
there's this thing Ivan needs. It's called a spreadsheet.
Well, that I do have a bash book. I call it the bash book. Basically, I go ahead and I'll go through my books in my music library, and I'll go to total discographies of a particular artist that I really like, and I'll set them out, or when I find it on a place like Global Dog Productions, which Global Dog Production out of Finland has probably got the most complete discography of multiple labels in the
But
world.
are you finding that? I mean, are you encountering that? Or like, oh, I don't have this. I gotta, as you're eliminating records from your collection, you're like, oh, I want that.
Yes, I do. And yes, I do. A case in point was, okay, I think if you saw my, I think I put it out on, on Facebook today. Okay, the Dalton, which actually started as Dolphin first after issue number 2, the name was changed to Dalton. And what happened was that the higher number Daltons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are the harder ones to get. So I finally came across, after 23 years, Dalton number 4 from Seattle, Washington, which was a little known record called I Have an Angel by Little Bill and the Blue Notes, which it's not something that comes along every day.
Oh, I thought Dalton was the artist. Dalton's the record label?
You sent that to the PM. You didn't put it publicly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So what I did was, Dalton is the label. And it fascinates me, music labels, record labels have always fascinated me, the graphic art designs, the colors, the thought process that went into creating the labels. And you can also, run the progress of a particular label, through the way it kind of changes over time. A lot of the earlier labels, like if a label is just starting, like say, for example, a record label, like say, okay, let's just say, all right, I'm starting a record label, Jivin. Okay. So Jivin has a regular little font on a blue label with silver print. Okay. That's what my company can afford to print. It's just that very simple font, color, and print. As time goes on and I start releasing more records, I'm finding, I got more money. Let's get more fancy. So I changed the font. I changed the colors. I changed the print. And
but can't I would think that'd be a lot easier now with digital printing for newer records.
Well, because back then, it was all done.
Right, back then.
Yeah,
but
back then
now,
it was done. But now you can replicate everything with digital printing. That's, believe it or not, records made nowadays. That's what tends to confound a lot of non-seasoned record collectors, because they think, oh man, this is minty, this is nice, and then they find out they have a boot or a counterfeit
or a KO,
of that, or a knockoff. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, I just pay, and why is this record that's worth, $2,000 going for $10? And then upon further inspection, you find it's been booted.
Yeah.
It's been booted.
Yeah, but if you just want to play it.
If you just want to play it, it's great. And I have no hang-ups. I have no hang-ups because you know what? The people out there are.
The problem is that they were charging $2,000 to $3,000. If they're charging $10.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go pay $10 to have a classic record, because when the people are out there dancing, they're not looking at the label. They're not looking at what is on it. They're listening to the music. And that's what's important to me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have a good deal of, especially in my doo-wop collection. Yes, I have a lot of boots, but that's because I'm not about to go ahead and, pay out the nose for Flamingo's 45 on chance, red vinyl copy for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. I don't got that kind of money. But if somebody booted it, but somebody booted, no, I've never spent any real nominal amount of money. In fact, I will tell you honestly, I think the most I've ever spent on any one record purchase was $100.
That's the most you've ever spent on a record. Was it an album or a 45?
It was an album.
Okay.
And that was Lynn Hope. It was an album from Aladdin from 1952, 12-inch, 12 tracks, and I found it at what was it? I found it at a bookstore, I think. I don't remember offhand. But all I know is, yeah, it was either pull the trigger on it or I'm never going to see it again. It's one of those kind of moments.
Yeah. Well, I know I've taken you to the flea markets and you found some albums. You thumb your nose at like $10, $12 albums. It's like, you're on a budget and you're just after the songs. You're not after finding like a collector,
Well, see, I mean, there are different types of collectors. You have the ones, mint and seal box, no creases, no nothing. It's got to be perfect before I plunk down $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on it. You got collectors that are satisfied with a little yellowing, a little crinkling, and a little this, a little that. They just want to have it. And then you got those that they want to have it and they just want to play it. So they're not going to go ahead and pay an astronomical amount of money. It's just because they want to play with it. Same with me. Same with record collectors. Me, I'm a player. Okay, as far as the records are concerned, they get played. I drop them on my turntable. I have fun with them. I record them. I share them. They go out there. After hours when I'm not doing Twitch television or I'm not DJing out on the road or whatever, and I'm in the house and I listen to my record collection extensively. I do, because it's one of the things that, I love, and it's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. And, it's a much bigger story than we have time to tell here, but, just to conclude this, subject matter, that, everybody's got a passion for something. And for me, I don't need to spend all of that kind of money to fulfill my passion. If I had the choice between the Minty Fresh, $2,000 is minty and it's the original genuine article with the genuine matrix numbers in the wax and the seals and blah, 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 blah. Or I could get the same record for $10 and put it on my turntable and play it, and it makes me happy. And if it sounds good, I'm satisfied. I'm not a snob, I'm not like that, as far as my record collection has been concerned. Some of my records have characters, some they click, some they crackle, some they've been through a little bit, but it's almost as though I have an automatic noise reduction system in my brain, and I can zero in past all of that and just listen to the music for what it is. And but I come from a time and place where listening to music music on records was the thing to do. But now with all of the technology and everything that's out there with downloads and Mixcloud and people doing things on the internet.
How do you kids your MP3s?
MP3s or back when CDs were the vogue or when MDs were the vogue or all of that, it's just like, and you go ahead and you play those records now, and you'll get the usual response. It sounds a little distorted, sounds a little staticky. But then, once you give it a chance and you listen to the dynamics of it and you listen to the feel of it and the warmth of it and just the interplay you have with it of just dropping it in the groove and just watching it do its, spin its magic, if you will, forgive the pun, that to me gives me a great amount of joy. And when I'm in a club and people are watching me spin records and they're like, wow, you're a real DJ. You're playing records. You're not doing the Serato off the computer with the controllers and all of that. And again, now I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not hating on you cats who do the digital thing. Okay. I am not a hater. I've never been a hater. Okay. As far as like,
he just crushes a lot.
Well, if that's the way you learned it, and if that's the way you want to bring it out there and you feel good with it and you're confident in it, man, bless you for perpetuating music. It needs to be. It needs to be perpetuated. It needs to be put out there. It needs to be heard in whatever way, shape, or form, because, a lot of things have happened in the last 30, 40 years that a lot of the original music on its original form has either deteriorated or disappeared. I mean, the Great Universal Fire of 2008, which wiped out so much music, which now is in the hands of those collectors who are holding on to those minty fresh 45s and albums and, the warehouses.
Well, now where they've been really, they've taken a rare print of a 45 and they've released it digitally to the ether. Now it's out there for everyone, for forever.
Forever, see? So, I mean, the Smithsonian Institution has a department where they're busy
replacing the CDs because they found out CDs aren't forever.
Exactly. Not only that, they're taking 78s and they're transferring them to a digital form, so those records will not be lost. And that will be around forever. Speaking of things that are lost, I have some heartbreaking news. Herb, the Cool Gent Kent, one of the patriarchs of Chicago radio, they had an estate sale, and they're selling off all of his belongings, including his record collection, his antique radio collection. And I sit back and I think, here's a man who for decades has been on the path of putting new artists out there in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, who has always held a torch for the good music of the state of Chicago and everywhere he's ever broadcasted.
I'm sure some of it's going to go to a museum.
No, nope.
No?
Nope. They're selling it outright. Outright. And so wow. I wrote a passage on the Facebook page, and the short story says, had we had a Chicago museum that would enshrine all of the wonderful history that is Chicago music, I mean, far and beyond.
We have a broadcast museum, but not a music museum.
I was going to say, we have the Bruce Dumont's Broadcast Museum downtown.
Oh, yeah, well, we have the Museum of Broadcast Communications, which is a wonderful institution, and I have much respect for it. I have provided funds for it in years past. And I just think to myself, why haven't anyone done the same thing with our music? Because every year that goes by, another piece of the history dies with someone or disappears into dumpsters or disappears into old file cabinets, or just people die off and the stories go away with them. I think there are those people who have gone ahead and taken the extra step and preserved the history. One good example, Robert Feeder, shout out to you, Robert, who has written books on Chicago doo-wop and Chicago soul. And of course, there are other artists who have done the very same thing with different Chicago, ephemera as far as radio and television and music. But I'm thinking, why can't we have a place we can walk in, much like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because Chicago's music has been known for not just blues, because everybody associates Chicago with the blues. We were more than just blues. We were rhythm and blues. We were soul. We were hip hop. We were rap. We were jazz. We were pop music. We were ethnic music in this city. And all of it has not been addressed in any real major detail at all.
Well, some books have been written.
Well, yeah, some books have been written, but unless you go to Amazon and you get the books, the audio books, and you listen to those stories, or actually pick up a real book and read those stories. But to be able to go ahead into an institution where you can walk in and you can look at the hundreds of thousands of wonderful photographs by Dale Richardson, who made up the vast majority of the wonderful chess, checker, and Argo covers that adorn so many wonderful albums. I mean, to be able to listen to the voice of Willie Dixon in his opening speech as you walked into the old Chess Records building, to be able to go up to one of several microphones that all the great singers from Little Walter to Sonny Boy Williamson to Ahmad Jamal to Muddy Waters, to Little Walter, and the Spaniels, the Monglos, the Flamingos. I could go on and on and on. It just doesn't seem, to me, it just does not seem right that the legacy of Herb Kent will only be now remembered through a series of maybe books, some media that's going to deteriorate over time. The records that people know of him, the people who he touched through his radio show, much like in the same way as Richard Pegues, who, and so many others. See, I feel that so much of our musical history has gone to the wayside because either people just don't feel for it, don't care about it, or just don't know enough about it to preserve it. So, I had this conversation with PJ, my friend, back in 1992, and how we both were thinking someday it would be wonderful to have such a place to go to. And here it is, it's 2020, and the only inkling of such a thing that's ever come to pass was the idea that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the people from Cincinnati, were going to come to Chicago and set up a blues or where
Cleveland.
Cleveland, yeah. Okay, see, I don't think so much of it. I don't even know where it's at anymore.
It's in Toledo.
It's definitely not Cincinnati.
Well, whatever.
That's where Kenner came from.
Yeah.
There you go. So the point of the matter
That's
is...
where the Reds are.
Yeah.
And the Bengals.
Well, maybe someday, Ivan, never say never, but, maybe things are like this, they're cyclical. Maybe it'll come back someday.
Well, who knows? I might be surprised when I might be surprised someday when I'm very gray and I'm very old and hunched over with my cane and I look down Michigan Avenue and I'll look up and then look and say, well, at least we have a blues museum. Hi. Hey, how's it going, people?
So I saw that you had a bit of insomnia a couple days ago.
Yeah, I did. I had a bad stomach going on, and I was feeling pretty terrible. So I was just getting up and just going on the internet and just kind of hanging out until the waves passed and everything, because I really hate to do the pink liqueur. I am not a fan of the pink chalky liqueur. So, but, I was just feeling kind of crummy and just, I guess I had just a little bit too much butter in my food. So kind of came back to haunt me. So I keep, wanting not to acknowledge that I'm getting older and that I can't eat the things I used to eat. I can't do some of the things I used to do, but my spirit is willing, but my body will always remind me, So I just tend to do more harm than good, and I just gotta try to be better about that.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Oh, no, I feel fine. I feel great. Just sent off my Let's Get Checked box, and so far, I've been negative for COVID, which is good.
Yeah,
and,
my brother-in-law had a scare. A couple weeks ago, they went to a family reunion in Indiana, and they came back from work, and his first day back from work after vacation, he was at the front door, and he failed his temperature test, so they sent him home. So he had to get tested, and 2 or 3 days later, he got his results, and he was negative, so he had to go back to work. But it was a couple of days, I was like, oh my God. And, family would be all what if there's a super spreader or something like that? I'm like, oh my God.
There's the problem. He went to Indiana. Why would you?
That's where his family's at.
Okay, but you also know that Indiana's had a rise where we haven't. People keep traveling around like it's no big deal. It's like if you're gonna go to the middle of nowhere or something, okay, fine. But if you're gonna go to a family reunion, odds are, you might get it.
And like my sister was posting pictures where like no one's wearing a mask. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh,
they're outdoors, but I mean.
Well, you see, I post pictures. I'm in the car. My mask is on. I'm still in the car with my mask on. But I got my mask on because I take it very
well, if you're alone in the car, you don't need your mask on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Call it being phobic or neurotic, but all I know is I rather, an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure. But all I'm saying.
I still don't understand the people with the nose above the mask.
It's like.
What is that about?
It's like wearing your underwear with your dick out over the.
Or you get some of these people that they cut a hole in the mask so they can breathe in it.
Yeah, I had 4 people today with no mask on at the store, and like 6 people on Friday. It was like crazy, man. It was like, come on.
Is it really like that many? Wow.
Yeah, I had 4 people today. 5 if you count the guy who came in twice.
Well, Florida is the most infected state now.
The most higher than California?
Higher than California. Wow. In fact, now
but that doesn't shock me.
Yeah, but California is also shutting down now.
I know. Well, L.A. they've been on constant lockdown. L.A. at least L.A. County.
Yeah, but now they're shutting the whole state down now.
Yeah, this is fine. They just made the news broke today that they canceled the Chicago Marathon in October.
Well, and then there's some local theater in the area that got canceled until springtime too. A couple of different theaters that are local in the area that are like the outskirts stuff, like the Drury Lanes and the Lincoln and the Marriott Lincolnshires and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, this is gonna go.
Like I told you guys before, man. 2020 is scrapped. 2020 is done.
I'm not sure that 2021 ain't scrapped.
No.
Well, right now, I'm hoping 2021 is not a trailer. 2020 is not a trailer for 2021. Please, I don't want that to even. I don't even want to think about that.
We'll see. We'll see how things are by the end of the year. We'll see if there's a spike in the winter because, that's the thing now too, is because people are indoors with circulated air through the air conditioning. That's why the southern states are getting hit harder again. Because everyone's indoors because it's too hot outside.
No.
Well, not only
people are being
they're catching it out. Well, they're not catching it out.
They're at the beaches. They're going out to the places. They're out
without masks.
Without the mask, and they're not cleaning up. They're under this falsehood, thinking, "Oh, it's okay. People are opening, so it's safe." No, it's not.
Yeah, well, it's. Like I said, here's all I can say. It's really funny. You look at like the map. The last time they showed one of those maps about where everything's going up and where everything's going down.
Yeah.
You notice that there's one place in the middle of the country that's green. And guess what? We live in it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Everybody, it was so funny because everybody's like, "Oh, Illinois being way too conservative." Yeah, Illinois numbers are still high, but they're moving the right direction. And I keep laughing because I'm like, man, I'm so glad I live here. I'll pay more taxes to be safe. Jeez.
Well, no, and I agree with you on that. In fact, and the fact that our administration is proactive in this whole thing against what a lot of people are yelling about. Well, it's my right. It might be your right not to wear a mask, but it's my right to be safe. It's my right to not have to get sick by you. It's my right to...
I'm really getting tired of the whole "it's my right" thing. Isn't there a state thing right now that says you have to wear a mask when you're outside?
There's a meme out there now where it's the last scene at Return of the Jedi, and Darth says, "Luke, help me take this mask off." And Luke says, "But you'll die." And he says, "I know my rights. I saw a lawyer," or something like that. So
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is good.
But I thought Illinois still had pretty much had laws that was like, you pretty much need to wear a mask.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, you do. Anytime you're outside, you got to have that mask on, man.
Unless you're like,
it's bringing out the thing is the whole thing, the mask thing it's swinging both ways to bring out the worst in people. I mean, there's the Karens that are calling out the people who aren't wearing the masks, and then there's like the people who are wearing the masks, the Karens who are not wearing the masks, and they're yelling at the people who are, or whatever. It's like, everyone's pointing at the other one else, whether or not they're wearing a mask, getting them at each other.
I put on Facebook. Okay, I found it. In my surf. Surfing the net, there was a gentleman who took the liberty of recording, the worst situations of people, and you got this.
Yeah, he made a compilation. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like that is on the nose, man. A lot of people, busy just.
Here's the thing. You get. I have to be perfectly honest. So I live in a condo, okay, and there's a lot of old people here who are not wearing masks on a regular basis. So about a week ago, I got in the elevator, okay?
Yeah, you told me about
I get in the elevator. There's two freaking people in there. Neither older people. Neither's one a mask. One's chewing gum. Right. Okay? Thank God I'm wearing an N95. Okay? And okay, fine. They're there. They're not wearing a mask. The next words out of her mouth to me are, "Oh, I forgot my mask. I think I always forget them." And she's like, I have them in multiple places so I don't forget to have my mask. And I'm like, it's bad enough you're not wearing it. Now you're going to give me some Bobby Mice bullshit excuse as to why you don't have one right now. Yeah. Okay? And that's the part that pisses you off. Because it's right away, it's like they all had all these justifications. So what Mike is aware of, and you'll get kicked out of this, Ivan, the next words out of my mouth she was not happy with, which were, well, apparently one of the places you don't have one is here, in the elevator.
Right on.
After that, the rest of the elevator ride was quite silent.
Right.
Yeah, well,
it's funny because I got yelled at by my mom about it, but I'm like,
no.
Well, I wouldn't have said a word if she had sat there and made all kinds.
That is try to rationalize.
Yeah, and that's what I keep hearing from people.
Fuck that. No.
That's what I keep hearing from people in the building. Like, it was funny. Like, we were walking back in from groceries and we're both wearing one, and the woman's like, "Oh, I forgot mine," and she's acting like, "Oh, shucks, silly me." And it's like, fuck you.
And I'm going to tell you something, and I know you guys would.
And that's the part that makes me angry. And it was funny because if my mom hadn't been there at that moment, I swear to God, I was like, "Oh shucks, you want to hear? Oh shucks." I swear to God, I understand.
That's when you fart in the elevator.
Yeah, or you just but go ahead. You're screaming in your mind. Well, hope it was nice knowing you. Hope you don't die. But and
we're all gonna die, Ivan.
Well, yeah, but some sooner than later.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and I'm going to tell you, probably would never imagine. Okay, now I know in shows previous about the whole boomer thing. Okay.
Yeah, and remember when "Okay Boomer" used to be a thing?
Yeah, well, guess what? Now, guess what? Now, okay, so here's the thing with "Okay Boomer," and I have to admit, you're right. You're right. Yeah, there's silence in the ranks. Here we go. All right, so here's the thing.
I'm a Gen Xer, so technically.
No, but I'm a boomer.
Yes,
and I am embarrassed. I am embarrassed, guys. Not for myself because I don't fall in those guidelines of boomerism, but there's a lot of boomers out there. And you look at the situations where they don't feel they don't feel that these times do not apply to them.
Yep. But millennials do too, in fairness. The millennials are doing the same shit.
Yeah, the young people, they're out partying.
I haven't seen this much from Generation Z, but I have seen a bunch of millennials being like, "Woo!" It's like, okay.
So there's a thing though, and when I watch things, on the internet, and I sit there and I think to myself, "Oh, this person once upon a time I thought had some common sense, but don't have common sense anymore, or they're stuck in such a place that they feel that sense of entitlement. Yeah, that they think they have all the answers and that they know so fucking much. And I look at it now and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm actually embarrassed. No, honestly, I know I fussed about it in the past, and looking at it from a different point of view. I mean, the people that you thought you knew, you don't know. And the people
I wonder how much of that,
and the people that you thought you knew, but you thought you didn't know, but now you know them, and now you wish you didn't know that you thought you knew them.
And then you knew Gary Canoe.
Because there's no news like good canoe, Gary Canoe. Okay.
God, that there's a whole bunch of people who are not going to get that reference at all. They're going to be some Gen Xers. They're going to be some Gen Xers going, oh yeah, the Great Space Coaster. I loved that show when I was a kid.
You're going to get a lot of people Googling, what did they mean by that? Is that some kind of code for something?
Great Space Coaster, here we go.
It's the Great Space Coaster.
But seriously, I do wonder if some of it is the fact that, some of the boomers are not as technologically savvy as some of the other generations. Because I noticed that's kind of a thing. Although I gotta be honest with you, the millennials don't have a problem with doing that, and they all seem to want to go party every 5 minutes. So if anything, what it shows me is the attention span of the people in this country is like shrunk to the size of like a prostate walnut.
I mean, it's been proven. It's been proven. Why do you think that when you watch shows now? Okay, remember back in the old days you watched shows, they showed
I remember
credits.
back in the old days, yes I do.
Oh, back in the day!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm saying when they show credits and everything, they show the whole credits and everything was kind of laid back. Now, everything
I think that's the moment where I started like getting like my old man kind of sense. Like when TV shows in the 90s started scrunching the credits to one side.
Right.
Or they fast forward them. Like I like watching the credits.
And the fact that I don't need to have everything come at me at lightning speed.
Yeah, that's where I was like, I think the first time I was kind of like get off my lawn kind of thing.
It's funny because we're so in the minority on that too. Yeah. We so are. And I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying we are, which is I just keep waiting. It's like, how fast does it have to get? How fast does everything have to get at this point? How much faster do we want things? How much more? I mean, seriously, when will you be happy? Is it that you can mentally think of something and boom, it's there in 2 seconds? Is that good enough? Because I bet it won't be.
No,
now we can't even bother ourselves to push the buttons on the remote. We hit the microphone button on the remote, and they're all like, CBS. Like, we're getting turned into the fat people in WALL-E.
And the scary part is there's some people don't even want to hit the button and it says CBS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Alexa, turn on Fox Sports.
Yeah. The problem is when you do that is when you have 5 Fox Sportses and you're like, fuck, that's not the one I want. I didn't want soccer. What the hell?
I got 4 ESPNs. I've got 6 CNNs. I've got
they all 5 have a test pattern now.
No, if you've got 6 CNNs, you've got problems, buddy.
Yeah.
No, I know.
They're all a test pattern.
Boy.
Speaking of ESPN, I think we're changing the name of our podcast to the Washington Redskins. What do you think?
No.
The name isn't taken anymore?
No.
Okay.
Right. Just checking. Just throwing it out there. A little trial balloon.
No.
No.
Well, okay, I take it back. If we do it, we'll probably get blasted by everybody, but people know our podcast. So the answer is yes.
Well, okay, if we're doing this for publicity, and
we'll change it back, and then we get to say we're the podcast formerly known as the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, but we're gonna get blasted on so many levels before that, and we're gonna get like death threats and shit. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Yeah. I mean, it's like next thing I know, it's
we're going through such a huge history of racing.
Strange shit going on.
Well, yeah, a lot of history erasing, a lot of history reimagined. I was watching, I can never get his last name right. Me and Julie, we watched John Leguizamo. He did a comedy thing called 3,000 Years of Hispanic History for Morons. And
okay.
And you have to see it.
Well, the amusing part is, if someone's going to do 3,000 Years of Hispanic History for Morons, it's John Leguizamo.
Okay, but I'm telling you, it is an extraordinary. He did an extraordinary job, and it was well versed. It was well researched, but funny as hell. Totally funny, and very, very in your face, but very educational at the same time. And it was such a wonderful thing. So people, I mean, you guys should check it out. It's, like I said, very comical, and it's called history. His 3,000 Years of Spanish History for Morons. It's by John Leguizamo. Check it out.
Was it one of his stand-up routines?
Oh, it's a stand-up routine and kind of a soliloquy of sorts. It's like he's got stuff that he refers to on the stage. So it's really well done.
Okay, we'll check it out.
So
for those who might not know that he's a stand-up comic, he's the voice of the bug-eyed looking rat in the
he's
not
been
the squirrel
in a lot more
though.
Than that too.
He's in the Ice Age. Whatever. Well, what else is I remember him from?
What else has he done? Now I gotta go look it up.
He was in Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Yeah, because that's the movie I want to reference.
Well, but he did a good job in that too.
I don't know. I've never seen that one.
No, I never saw that one.
Good.
Oh, that's right. He was the one where Patrick Swayze and they're the drag queens.
Right.
Yeah, that's the 2-1 food thing that he's talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's very funny. Okay, and so when you think about that whole situation and the whole history erasing situation and the fact that there's a lot of things missing in history, and the things that I grew up thinking that I knew or thought I knew, I don't know anymore. So
and then the things that you thought you knew, but you didn't know, but you might have thought you knew, you don't know.
Yeah, as I've said before.
I feel very displaced.
As I've said before, I'm not aware of too many things, but I know what I know, if you know what I mean.
Okay, Edie.
I was going to keep... This seems like that's just the way to go.
We got any news we can get into?
Hey, hold on. I'm trying to find John Leguizamo shit, because
it's a podcast episode, so we need to be sure Jeff looks up shit on the internet.
Well, no, because I'm positive there's something better than 2-1 food.
Well, okay, yeah, no, there are other things. No, you're right, Jeff.
Here we go. Here we go. He was in John Wick Chapter 2. Much better now.
Okay. All right.
Was he like the car guy? I think it was in both John Wicks 1 and 2.
I don't know. He might have been.
He had just a big role in that.
He's in the Ice Age movies.
Yes.
Let's see what else. He did a video with Justin Bieber. Really?
Okay. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's why IMDb is making a lot of money. Yes, he is in the John Wick movie, the original. He was in Ride Along. Kick-Ass 2. I did not realize he was in the second Kick-Ass movie.
I've never seen that. Did you ever see Kick-Ass 2?
I did. I've seen bits and pieces of Kick-Ass 2. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
I mean, I saw Kick-Ass 1. I thought that was great.
Yeah. That's funny. That's one of the movies that's one of the properties that's not in the Netflix deal. Is Kick-Ass, because technically the rights are still somewhere else. That and Kingsman are the big ones.
I love Kingsman.
I think they were working on a prequel for that. I'm looking just to see. Boy, he's done a lot of shit, John Leguizamo. And when I say shit, I mean good. I mean, he's just been working. This guy's been working for a really long time. There's a lot of stuff here. I mean, I'm like looking just here. It's like the volume of work is impressive. I mean, he's like working nonstop. He's working like nonstop since like the early 2000s. And boy, he is really
good. Well, he's been busy. That's good.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was in Spawn. The Spawn.
That's right. He was the clown.
Movie.
That's right.
He was the clown.
Yeah.
The horrible Spawn movie that every so often we hear from Todd McFarlane. Oh, I'm still working on the Spawn movie.
Yeah.
And it's like every so often you think we might get one, and it's like, nope.
Nope,
not yet. Finally saw Wave 2 of the DC figures based on the Wonder Woman 84 film. And not bad, but they're 7-inch because they can't be 6-inch like Marvel Legends. We have to be different. Like,
Yeah, well.
And you're like, why?
They're well sculpted. They look good, but there's,
I'm sure that. Yeah. Is McFarlane doing those? Is that the deal?
That's DC. Yeah, the new DC figures. I mean, they did some boost based on the Bruce Timm animated, like the Justice League, like they did Superman.
He really made himself into like going beyond being the comic book guy that he was, because he really is like the toy guy now.
Yeah, McFarlane, was doing a lot of figures. He made a lot of money probably on sports memorabilia. McFarlane was doing a lot of sports figures.
Well, he did. Didn't he get a lot of licensing for a lot of different things?
Yeah, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. He's really turned into like.
Yeah.
I mean, the toy thing has really become bigger for him than the comic.
Well, obviously, I don't know if they're still making. Is Dark Horse? They still printing Spawn comics?
Oh yeah. They're still printing Spawn.
Yeah, have we heard how DC's doing without Diamond?
Diamond?
I have not heard a thing about that.
No one's talking about it.
No one's really been talking about
Maybe
that.
Maybe nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah,
they're just doing the wait and see.
That can happen.
Nobody wants to talk
I haven't fully read that article yet, Mike, about the whole thing with Warren Ellis and all that stuff about how the subculture that's been there, that's been with women and all that stuff. I haven't heard who all the artists are, but that piece from the Huffington Post is just damning.
Yeah, it's fun. And of course, to release this on the heels of what would have been San Diego Comic-Con in a week or two.
Yeah, and none of that. I wish I could. It's sad because it's like none of this shocks me.
No.
I mean, none of it. I mean, and it's funny because I don't know why everybody's so shocked by some of this stuff. I mean, you're not talking about guys. I mean, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. You tell me. Most of the people who I know who read comic books were not exactly the most socially adept people, or were exactly the most popular people, or were people that, how can I say, were socially had social mores, or the guys who. I mean, look, all those jokes that get made. On the Big Bang Theory about
we're
getting
all comic
laid,
nerds, we're shut-ins.
Right, or about how I'm not gonna get the only time I get laid is when I go to Comic-Con, ha ha ha, and there's jokes about that, but there's a lot of truth to that too. Is a lot of that statement. So I'm not shocked really when you really stop and think about it, about any of this, because if a lot of these guys who are creators were all people who grew up reading comic books and may not have been like, girls may not have been a thing for them and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not making excuses. There's no excuse for any of it.
No, but at the same time, you also have to look at the time and place a lot of this took place.
Yeah, like in the 50s with Mad Men kind of mentality. At the office place.
So a lot of this type of behavior was considered the norm because of the way.
But we're talking about recent, though, Ivan. We're not just talking about like back in the day. We're talking recent.
Now,
there's some stuff that's gone on in the 90s. Yeah, about what's.
There's stuff that's 90s and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
when I say beyond, I mean beyond as in current.
Yeah, the article is on the Squares Roundtable Facebook page.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good look for the comic industry.
No, as a whole. And it doesn't matter what company you like or don't like. There's somebody on that. There's somebody who you might like. Like, Warren Ellis is huge. He's written a lot of really good books.
Oh, it's from the Daily Beast, not the Huffington Post.
Is it Daily Beast?
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's all right.
Is it Daily Beast? Okay. Yeah, but it's a really good, solid piece. And yeah, I mean, like, it was funny. I saw Gene Ha talking about it. Like, he's done work with Warren Ellis. He's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to think now. Am I supposed to, I did amazing work, but apparently the person I was working with was a fucking asshole. And I shouldn't say, I can't remember the exact words, but like, Gene Ha is a great artist, and okay.
He was a great artist, but he was a dirtball.
Right.
You're like,
well, no, Gene Ha's fine. But he did stuff with Warren Ellis. Okay, so now, okay, how do I feel about the fact that I did stories with a guy who did this stuff to women and acted in this way? Like I said, to me, the biggest thing is like I said, I think this stuff's been there for a while. And your point is taken, Ivan, about the 50s and the Madman stuff. But it's been perpetuated even further down the line for a long time. Long time.
Because it was never challenged. It was never challenged up until later. Once the 90s and the 2000s and certain movements and certain things started happening in the industry and the mentality changed, okay, that comic books were not just for introverts who were just, lost in their own world of make-believe or whatever. When it became a situation where comic books, graphic novels or whatever have you, started to become big business, not only for just kids and teenagers, but then towards adults, which of course started mining adult-style attitudes, which they kind of pushed to the envelope on in too many ways. But then all of that spilled into...
Well, I'm not going to go there. I don't think that...
a lot of that kind of may have spilled into the younger comic books to get the numbers. Okay? So it
but that's different. That's different than this, though. That's not the same as what we're talking about here. I mean, that's an entirely different conversation. If you want to talk about the sexualization that is in comic books and how certain things have gotten far too adult in comic books, we can have that conversation, but that's a different conversation than the fact that you've got creators who have people
who did terrible things.
Hold on. Creators who basically sexually abuse, who took advantage of women in terms of sexual abuse or rape or in those manners. And I think a lot of that, and you have one point that's right, which is now that stuff like Marvel is making these big, huge movies,
Mm-hmm.
there's been that movement that women are starting to be more involved in being more interested in comics. And in fairness, the manga and anime stuff has helped some of this too. But again, now it's more a thing. Okay, I'm interested. I'm a woman and I check out Iron Man. I'm a woman and I read Captain America. Or I'm a woman and I'm cool with that. I pick up Batman. Or maybe I'm looking at independent books or stuff like that. Or I'm a girl and these things. That is there now. And that's more. And that demographic is growing on a huge level.
On a huge level. Which also too, not only just in comic books, but in, in motion pictures. Wasn't there a thing about Gal Gadot who had a problem with one of her co-stars?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Mike and I were talking about that.
I'm getting ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But to your point, yeah, there's an interesting dynamic it's been in the last few years that that geek culture has had to re-examine itself because there's that whole thing about gamers, about Gamergate. and
how
the fact
girl
that
gamers
and
were poorly treated.
Yeah, or the fact
very
that
poorly treated.
right, or the fact that, and in fairness, hey, look, I'll plead guilty, which is, you know what, and maybe not purposely, but yeah, I've been to Gen Con before, and yeah, I'm one of those guys who falls into the category of, okay, it's a girl, she's pretty, I like her, I might say something or do something stupid, because hey, she likes games like me too. And that's rare. And I don't find girls like that. And now I'm in a situation where maybe I'm not and again, I'm not making excuses for it. But, it was funny. Like the last time I went to C2E2, they were doing, they actually did a speed dating event. And I thought it was an interesting idea. And in fairness, maybe it's stuff like that and I thought people were like scoffing at it, but it's like, you know what? Maybe stuff like that needs to happen. Because otherwise, this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. And maybe I'm wrong.
We need some healthy social interaction.
Yeah.
Right. And the key word is healthy social interaction, not a form of perversity that has been with that type of thing.
Well, and the other thing is too, is creators, you look, creator, you think it, look, creator, and this is part of it too, which is, it's a creators at this point. Yeah, you're gonna, it cuts both ways on that, which is, and it's funny because, like I said, Warren Ellis is like one of the biggest writers in the biz. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see what happens to a guy like that. Cause I'll give you an example. Once upon a time, and this is a little bit different than that, but just to give perspective of where things have gone. Once upon a time, one of the hottest artists in all of comics was a guy by the name of Ethan Van Sciver. Well, Ethan is kind of persona non grata for pretty much 98% of the comic book world. And the reason he is because he's pretty much a racist and a bigot, and he's done a whole lot, he's backed a whole lot of stuff about anti-Semitism that's anti-Semitic and shit like that. And guess what? Ethan isn't working for any of the major companies anymore. And goodbye. And I'm curious how, like I said, Warren Ellis is a very, very popular person. I'm sure there'll be backlash from certain people who are his fans and who are unsure what to do now that they own Warren Ellis books, or they still like to read Warren Ellis. I don't know.
Well, okay, because all right, when you read something, every person, is subjective to what a person reads in a comic book, what their interpretation of that comic book, what they get out of that comic book, what they take away from that comic book, how the person's mind works. We're talking billions and billions of different mindsets off of one story, one comic book. Okay, that's kind of hard to go ahead and try to police in a way that type of a mindset because, okay, being open to that type of interpretation. It depends on the individual. I mean, it depends on, this story is great. Does it excite me? Does it stimulate me? Does it make me think about things? Does it make me want to do things?
But Ivan,
the point is that now you've found out that the person who wrote this great story that you admire so much is a terrible person.
Yep.
And so what do you do? I mean, do you figuratively tear down that statue? Do you erase those books?
And here's the other thing.
That brings me back to history canceling situations. Okay, and all right, and okay, where do you draw the line on these things? Okay, yeah, you got recording artists that have done horrendous things, but we still listen to their records. We have actors and actresses who have done things in movies. We still watch their movies.
I mean, the best example I can give you on somebody's movies who I watch, and I will admit I still watch them, even though I can't fucking stand the guy, and he's an anti-Semitic prick, is Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was about to say, Road Warrior, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, just those two.
See, so there it is. See,
yeah, he said some nasty shit.
He's said a lot of nasty stuff over the years. But it's funny because he's taken.
Yeah,
he lost like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
where he didn't get work.
Well,
then he sat on his pile of money from the Passion of the Christ, but that was
right. Well, and in fairness, he kind of took advantage of. I hate to say it. In some ways, he then found Christ. So I don't want to get into this.
Yeah,
I have real thoughts on this, and it's the part where I'm going
to poke you on those real thoughts, Jeff. What are those thoughts?
I was going to poke you.
Oh yeah. Well,
I think that's the title this
week.
I want to know.
It's amazing how suddenly he found Christ. It's amazing how many people rallied around him at that point.
Okay.
And how it was, it's not, and all of a sudden it's, well, we can look past some of the anti-Semitic stuff in the movie. And all of a sudden, all kinds of church groups are behind it, and everybody's kind of got this thing like it's the greatest movie ever, and everybody should watch it, and it's so incredible, and it's the greatest thing about Christ. Forgive me, but to me, yeah, y'all just basically, congratulations, y'all just basically just let the anti-Semite continue to do his stuff, and you made him a boatload of money. And now he can continue to say and do whatever the hell he wants. And y'all backed him. So there you go.
Do you think they did that movie Apocalypto? Was that him?
Did that too.
Was that him too? Yeah.
So see but I
think that's the last thing he's done. I mean, he was in the movie. I remember he was the dad in the one with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. And where John Lithgow was Will Ferrell's dad and Mel Gibson was Mark Wahlberg's dad, like the two dads.
I can't remember when Payback was.
Yeah,
I know that.
Payback was a while back.
Yeah, anyway, that was in the 2000s, wasn't it? That wasn't in the 90s.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that far long ago, but. I don't know. The 2000s is almost 20 years old now.
And then there's that what women want thing. Well, but yeah.
So that's my point, okay? Because it depends on the individual as to how much they want to self-censor what it is that a person does in a book or in a movie or on a television show or any of it. How much of it do you tolerate just to keep on enjoying that person's work? I mean, everybody's going to have their own take on this. Everybody's going to have their own thoughts on this. And does it make it right? Does it make it right? Does it make it wrong? I don't know.
And now here's the part that's in. Now I'll roll into your question about the Gal Gadot thing, which is, and we kind of talked a little bit about this last week, which is, now that all this stuff has happened, where there's going to be this new Justice League thing, that's coming out on HBO Max. It started with Ray Fisher, where Ray Fisher
plays Cyborg on Justice League.
Who plays Cyborg on Justice League, talking about that he didn't like how he was dealt with and attitudes and problems on the set. And then it came out that, and in fairness, Gal Gadot has not said anything. But it came out through someone else that Gal Gadot was not happy about this thing. And I know what scene it is. I remember exactly what it was. I thought it was funny, which is where the Flash accidentally lands practically on top of her, and I guess Gal Gadot sat there and said, "I think this scene's a bad idea. I don't want to do it." And Joss Whedon basically sat there and said, "Okay, fine," and then brought in a body double and still did the beat and still did it. To which I kind of sit there and go, "Hey." There's a part of me where it's like,
you just sidestepped the situation.
Did he? Or did he do what he? I mean, she didn't do it, did she?
Well, he spared Gil Gadot the situation, but yet he got another woman to get dropped on.
Well,
You're still perpetuating that situation.
Well, they had a stand-in.
Right. In the meantime, the scene is a scene that apparently he did the joke. He did the same joke. Who is it? Who does Scarlett Jo do it with?
It was with
an Ultron.
Mark Ruffalo.
Is it Bruce Banner? Yeah.
When the drones first attack, right at Stark Tower, at the Avengers Tower, or whatever, the party, where Ultron unveils himself. Where they do the same
after they're
gag.
all tried to lift the hammer.
Yeah.
After they're all tried to lift the hammer.
Right. And the drones attack, and he's like, you're all, But anyway, but it was I didn't realize until I read the article they did the same gag in 2 films.
Yeah, it's the same. Well,
and it was because it was Whedon.
Right, it's Whedon.
Yeah.
But so that's come out, and now, and then there's been reports about that, about how Whedon was on set, and now there's something else I have read where some of the stunt people from Buffy are complaining about how, and not necessarily that women, but just in general about how he treats people. And it's funny, there have been rumors and stories that have been out there about how Whedon treats women. And the irony is, there's a guy who has created a lot of amazing roles in TV for a lot, and even movies for a lot of women. And it's kind of interesting because, and again, in the meantime, you don't hear any of these conversations about no, you don't hear anybody coming out talking about him about this, like about Avengers. You don't hear anything about this, about him talking about Ultron. And ironically, there was the same scene then. Nobody said anything then. Maybe
didn't put 2 and 2 together that it was the same person that.
Yeah.
So you get a situation now that, okay, I mean, how much is too much? See, and again, it becomes the point of the people watching the movies or reading the comic books, and okay, I mean, you can't appease every frame of mind. You just can't do it. It's not possible.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and I don't know where you stand on it, Mike, but to me, really, in reality, this whole Justice League thing was just a mess from the get-go.
Well, yeah, we know this. We know it was DC
and they created
playing
more
catch-up.
of a mess, right? And now it's become more of a mess. And now I feel like there might be some truth to what's going on with the Joss Whedon stuff. At the same time, I feel like now, because there's going to be a Snyder cut and all this is going on, and Warner seems to be backing this, and there seems to be a whole bunch of these people with the Justice League stuff where it sounds like they're trying to mend fences with a lot of this. I don't know if it's DC or it's Warner or both or whatever. And I think a lot of it is because HBO needs content, and they think they can milk some of this. Okay, I don't know if it's just that people right now are feeling like this is a good time to go pile on Joss Whedon. Okay, because in reality, right now it's a good time to do that because right now the Snyder Cut thing is winning. If you really want
the battle for the argument over the Snyder Cut,
right?
Yeah,
right. The battle over the version. I kind of laugh. It's like when do we get to see the? If you really want to do this, fine. Give us the Whedon cut too.
Well, yeah, so that way you have your choice.
Right. Give us the Whedon cut. Is there a Whedon cut? Because
then they release the Whedon cut.
I presume that the one that made it to theaters was the mostly Whedon cut.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
why was it that Snyder? Was it because he had his son was health?
They claimed that. They claimed that, but then keep in mind the numbers were bad. Keep in mind he was kind of the overall architect of all the DCEU. Okay, so Man of Steel did okay. It wasn't great, but it did okay. Batman versus Superman
it didn't meet expectations for a lot of people.
That you're being nice.
Yes, I am.
They're being real nice.
Well,
And in fairness,
okay, I get it.
And in fairness, the next movie that they put out was Suicide Squad. And while there are certain things about Suicide Squad that I could look at and say, okay, that was successful, this worked, this, that. Okay. By the numbers in theory,
not so much.
It supposedly it wasn't. At least let me say this. What they projected wasn't. The irony to me is, if you don't do that, they don't sell near, if they don't do, see, here's the weird part about Suicide Squad. Without that movie, they don't sell nearly as many of those Harley Quinn costumes and as much Harley Quinn merchandise as they have in the last 3-4 years. They just don't.
Well, Harley Quinn's popularity was on the rise before Suicide Squad.
Right, but not.
It reached, yeah. It
you think it reached its
apex? It leapt over in a single bound, if I want to use the analogy. So now, Harley Quinn is, obviously she's got her own cartoon now, so.
Right.
She's over the hump.
But, I mean, like, for example, they're doing this Suicide Squad movie that I'm unaware of. The only person who's coming back from the original Suicide Squad movie is Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn. Otherwise,
it's a whole new squad. Yeah.
A whole new. Well, I don't know if it's a whole new squad. Whole new cast.
Yeah. They've replaced some characters with different actors.
That we don't even know. Well, we know who some of the actors are.
We know the actors, but we don't know if they're replaced. I don't think they've replaced Will Smith's Deadshot.
I don't think so.
No.
Like, I believe, is it Batista or is it John Cena's in that movie? Maybe both.
Yeah. We'll find out someday when this movie comes out.
Well, we'll know when the trailer comes out. I think it's next.
I miss the days talking about movie trailers.
Yeah.
But the point being is, Suicide Squad technically was not a hit either. So, and then to top it off, so at that point it's, Batman versus Superman's a mess. You already have in the can Suicide Squad. That was a mess. And you already filmed Wonder Woman. And you had already, the first Wonder Woman was in the can already. But at least it seemed like that was sort of working. And Justice League had just gotten done finished shooting right as Batman vs. Superman went into theaters. Mm-hmm. So, really in reality, you were already 4 movies in. And, I think they were freaked out. I think that they panicked. They panicked about Justice League. And it's easy to sit there and throw Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon and Peter Berg under the bus for all this stuff. But at the same time, that doesn't excuse if Joss Whedon stuff though. No. I mean, it's funny because Joss was supposed to do a Batgirl movie for them. And magically he's like, I don't have any ideas. It's not that he didn't have any ideas. I think this is all still spin out from that, but.
Well, the DCU was changing on a weekly basis for a while.
Yeah, it still is.
League,
Well, it became a revolving door.
Yeah. Well, and then Aquaman did really well, so then there was still potential to salvage some pick and choose out of the DCU.
And that's the part I laugh about, because those are all the next couple projects are all projects that were under Jeff Johns. Yeah. See, the irony to me is Jeff Johns got canned after Justice League, and the irony is Jeff Johns is trying to repair Justice League. But really, in reality, the first projects that Jeff Johns was working on that were just plain hit projects that he could work on did well, which were Aquaman and Shazam. And probably the Wonder Woman movie. So there you go. Yeah. I mean, I just...
Well, we've discussed at length about how DC is getting their shit together, and news about Joss Whedon and the whole the comic book industry, whatever. It's not boding well
And you know what the amazing part is? And it's something that I thought, I really did. I gotta tell you, I don't know who Zack Snyder has for a publicist, but he's got to be the greatest publicist on the planet Earth.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, not only did you get this movie, this thing back into life, we're still talking. It's like, okay, now that that's happened, they're still talking about it. And they're talking about it on a regular basis. Now, I don't know how much of it is because there's nothing else out there at the moment. Okay.
Well, now you can legit talk about it because it's happening.
Right. But I mean, it never stops not being talked about. And I just feel like it's like, okay, you got what you wanted. Does that mean we're going to calm down? No. We're going to keep getting this stuff until this damn thing's released. And it's like, okay.
It's some sort of whisper campaign. You know, you continually keep it out there, it's just going to keep going.
Well, and that seems to be, like I said, whoever he's working with for a publicist, gotta be one of the greatest publicists of all time. Because I swear, it's like it's on every freaking comic book thing. Every other thing is about freaking Justice League, Justice League this, Justice League that, Justice League. Yeah. It's like this isn't coming out for almost a year. I think the best is the comment.
It goes back to a story I know about just 2-minute miracle. It all goes back to a producer that lived in the late 1950s. And Elvis is gone, and the teen idol starts to become a thing. All right. And he's got all the success with this teen idol. The guy's a fucking bastard, but he's got a knack for teen idols. Okay? And so, here it is. He's got something that he needs to do to keep this momentum going. So he invests in a new guy. But the new guy doesn't sing very well. He looks great. Takes a great picture. And everything, but he can't sing worth a damn. But he starts a whisper campaign. He starts posting pictures all over the walls. He's doing handbills. He's getting things put out in the magazines. You don't know shit about this guy. Only what this guy is saying about this particular artist. And guess what? It worked.
Well, it worked in a day.
Well, and it still works, believe it or not.
It still sort of works.
Well, it sort of works in a way. I mean, now with the technology and everything else we got now, but the strategy still works. People are curious about what is going on there. People want to know. The person's sitting there talking out of his ass, but then you think, oh, he's talking out of his ass, but wait a minute. What is about this that he's so passionate about?
Well, the other thing is,
you
have a, in the last few years, there has been kind of a perpetuation of with the perpetuation of geek culture, there's been the perpetuation of geek news. And it has grown to where there's a market and there's an appetite. And the problem with the growth in the appetite is that doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot to talk about. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And so the problem becomes, on the times when there isn't, you gotta make news.
You gotta make things.
Clickbait. That's how we get clickbait.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
Fishing.
Because this actor said in an interview that he'd love to be in this part, in this film.
Right.
So now they say, there's talks. Like, no, they're not. No, there's no talks.
Oh,
my favorite is...
They baited you.
Yeah.
My favorite is...
They baited you, those jerks.
They baited you into believing that there is a thing.
My two favorites are... This actor says they'd love to play X character. That's one. Doesn't mean that they're playing it, just this person's interested in it.
Talking about it. So you're set in motion.
Right. It's not like it's happening. It's just this person said it. It's not that it's coming from any place, but this person happened to say that they wanted to play this character. Okay, whatever. Fuck, who cares? The other one is, and this happened a lot when there was all the hullabaloo with Avengers Endgame. And some of them are still doing it. These people who these articles where they put out about fan theories.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like.
Yeah. I remember seeing a lot of those when Endgame.
Oh, they still, and they still happen now. Too. It's like, this is not news. This is beyond not news. This is like, we have a fan. I mean, sometimes my favorite is a story where it's like,
man.
Your fan theory is not a news article.
Well, my favorite is when they have an article where it's like, okay, this is supposed to be an article, and you start to read it, and you, like, 80% of it is shit you already knew, and there's like 20% that's new, and none of it is really worth a damn. And you spent time reading it, and you're like, why? Welcome to pretty much most of what you get on
clickbaity geek news.
Yes. Welcome to clickbaity geek news.
But welcome to the gossip mill.
And the worst part is, it'd be better if they called it the gossip mill. Or
it looks like a legit article. Yeah, I remember. Like, yeah, I remember.
Why
or was a columnist? If it was a column or an opinion piece or something like that, they don't say that.
No, they don't. They write on the coattails of, oh my gosh, he said it, so it must be true.
Well, it's not about just that. It's just somebody writing to make it look like a legit article when it's just conjecture.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not even legit.
Yeah.
That's right. It's what we Puerto Ricans call bochinche. It's gossip. It's just nothing more than unsubstantiated, talks about all about nothing. It's all ado about nothing.
Well, and that's what happens in fairness, that's what happens when you create interest in something. And there's I'll give you another example. And which is, pro wrestling's like that too, at times, except you don't get the fan theory thing. But pro wrestling's kind of like that too, because there's enough sites that people are interested in pro wrestling that there's only so much news because there's really not that much, there's not that many companies anymore and there's not that much going on.
Right.
So the truth is there ain't that much news to talk about. Every so often there's some news. But the truth is there really ain't that much. And so as a result, to me, I kind of laugh because it's like, yeah, a lot of this shit ain't news. And there's not much to this. So I don't know what you're talking about. Why you gotta post something.
Yeah, we're looking at you. We got this covered.
Yeah.
So you're like, so why even, do that,
Oh, we got this covered. It's gotta be one of the worst. That one and Cosmic News. Anything Cosmic News, I'm like, no, thanks. That's bullshit too.
Do we have any other news we want to discuss before we get out of here?
Yeah, I did want to get to the part where one of the Russo brothers had a great comment about all this Justice League
the Snyder
stuff,
cut.
That was great. The Snyder cut. That was great. About we just make our movies and we do it right the first time, pretty much.
It's like.
That's pretty much.
Yeah, you notice there isn't a director's cut of any of the MCU films.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
That was great.
Throwing a little bit of salt.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Would you have to have a director's cut for every goddamn freaking DC movie? That's
it's like
bullshit.
They did, right? Like if.
That's the big shit.
Yeah, like if it was like the Lord of the Rings, like where like we had like an extra 3-hour extended cut.
Yeah. Because that's what we need. Another 3 hours of Lord of the Rings. 3 more hours where they're walking towards a mountain to drop a fucking ring.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I want to sit through a 4-part, 12-hour event. Yeah, no.
I guess
that's too bad that the second. I like the first Hobbit film, but the other two, I lost.
I didn't like the Hobbit when I was a kid,
If you don't like The Hobbit now.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not nearly as interested.
Yeah, I had the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I didn't buy the Blu-ray or the new discs or anything like that. I have the extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings, but after the first, I just like the first part of the Hobbit movies, the first Hobbit film. The other two, I don't care for. So, extended cuts. What movie would you like to see an extended cut of, Evan?
What movie would I like to see an extended cut on?
What movie you really liked, you think you'd like to see, like, a longer version of?
Let's see. That's kind of a big question because there's so many things I would like to see more of. Okay, so on the immediate, I would, you know what? If they could go ahead and give me an extended Star Wars movie.
What?
I could go for an extended.
We got 5 new Star Wars films after Disney's.
I know you got 5 more.
But I mean, like, what movie though?
The first one.
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
No, he means episode 4.
I know.
No, I'm talking about the very first Star Wars movie.
I know. I just recently drove past the Benihana where we lost that bet. I lost a bet. I made a bet with Ivan years ago that the Phantom Menace would gross $1 billion at the box office.
Oh.
Because I was like, this was summer '99. I'm like, the hype is there. This movie's going to make a ton of money.
And I said no.
And so so I had to buy.
You had to buy me lunch. Buy me dinner.
Yeah. So you want to see an extended cut of the first Star Wars?
I would like to see, without all the added bullshit that they put in the later films. I just want to see a longer version of the first Star Wars movie. Just a little bit more of that.
An extra hour of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru drinking blue milk.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing an extra hour of that.
I hear you. Yeah, I would like to see.
I would like to see an extra hour of the Wrath of Khan.
That's.
I don't know.
That movie goes long at times.
No, it's not. What? What? Are you crazy?
I get bored.
You got bored at Wrath of Khan?
In the early parts of it, I do.
Well, it's just they reused some footage from the motion picture
but
they did the film on a budget.
Right, but take all of that out, all of the reused stuff. Let's go ahead and just say, hey, let's see what the director's cut would have looked like, maybe without all of those.
I know there are fan cuts with new CG of the starship battles, like in the Nebula at the end, like with the Reliant and the Enterprise.
Right. I mean, that would be cool. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, Jeff, what movie you would want to see an extended cut of?
Boy, that's a good question.
Stripperella. No, I'm sorry.
It's really funny you say that.
Excelsior.
I was really tempted to go that route, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go that route. I'm not gonna stoop that low. I'm not gonna.
Okay, well, but I did though, so that's me. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah, you leave Stan Lee alone. Come on.
Okay, no, I don't disrespect Stan Lee. I love Stan Lee.
Maybe I'll go a different route with this. An extended cut of Midnight Run would be interesting.
Yeah, that was a good film.
That would be good. I could see that.
It's one of Charles Grodin's best performances.
I think it's Charles Grodin's only good performance.
Yeah, after you've done enough Muppet movies, yeah, you only
Beethoven movies. In fairness, he made a lot of money on those Beethoven movies.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got a lot of miles. How many did they have?
There were a lot of them.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah, there were 9 of them.
There were a boatload of those.
Like I said, there were 9 of them. 9.
Yeah. Was there really 9? Wow.
I can't believe
9.
Josh, he was in all 9 of those. I don't think he
He
was.
might have been.
I don't know.
He might have been.
He might have been. I got a feeling he was.
It's like what's his name? Eugene Levy is in like practically pretty much all of even the bad American Pie movies.
Yeah.
All like
He's
even
latched
like
onto
the
that
director
franchise,
like even like to the direct-to-video ones he's on some of them. It's like
Hey.
I'll take. It's like check please.
Yeah. Poor guy's got to make his make rent.
You know,
Well,
hey man, it's
yeah,
money.
but at least, given the fact that he ended up on Schitt's Creek, I think kind of brought him back a little bit. I think it might have been.
Yeah, but still, it's like, hey, we got another American Pie movie. Okay, give me my check.
All right, okay, here we go.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's not. I can't blame him for that. I mean, if you could still get check money for that, it's like what's his name?
Hey, if you're still making your dough to go, why not, right?
It's like back when Samuel L. Jackson hadn't done like all the Marvels movies yet. And he's talking about being in the Star Wars movies. He's like, well, now I know. Like later in life, I could be like 100 years old. They'll wheel me on stage and be like, "May the Force be with you." Now, where's my damn check?
Now,
What he didn't realize was now he can make even more money because he's Nick Fury and he's Mace Windu. So really, in reality, it's roll me out there. Give me my check.
Yeah, poor Mace Windu went out the window.
Anybody that could go ahead making snakes on a plane
I
needs
heard
to be justified somehow.
So okay, I gotta be honest. I never liked Mace Windu. Windu. I am not a fan. I don't like the character. I've never liked the character. And the best moment in the history of Star Wars is the moment where he goes out the window. And I will admit that I was the person in the movie theater that everybody was looking for in the back. That when I went to see it
cheered
that day,
when
I cheered and yelled, "Yes, Mace, die, you bastard, die!" And I did it loudly, and I was happy.
So would you see? You obviously like an extended cut of episode 3.
If it shows when he bludgeons himself to a.
Have you read the fan theories about what happened to Mace Windu's body after he got thrown out the window?
No. Have you heard about the fact that he thinks that he should be able to come back to life?
Well, if Darth Maul can come back.
Like, no, you get to come back. You're dead. Shut up. Go away. Mr. Everybody's got either a red or a blue, or Mr. Everybody's got either a red, a blue, or a green lightsaber. No, I gotta be cool. You gotta give me a purple one because I said so.
Right. Nah. Not so much.
They're acting like you're like some sort of Jedi cool badass. Shut up.
Go home.
Trying to
Then they're trying to muscle his way
overshadow. Try to overshadow like Ben Kenobi and like Yoda. What the hell?
Let's see. Well, my choice for an extended cut would be Star Trek Generations.
Okay,
that's a good call.
That one seemed like it was a little rushed at some places. I liked a few more scenes fleshed out, maybe like an extra 20 to 30 minutes of especially stuff going on the Enterprise B or before Kirk and Scotty and Chekhov,
I never understood why they tried to make Jean-Luc Picard into Mr. I fight and I can get into a fight and win.
Well, because it was the
do,
action hero. It was
thing.
Kirk's role in Star Trek 5 and 6 even to do crazy action stuff, and they wanted to do that.
I understand, but isn't that what
for First Contact?
Isn't that what you have Riker and Worf for and Data? Is to do that kind of stuff?
But he's the captain. He should be the hero. So he should do the heroic stuff.
Well, doesn't he?
But he got his
do the
ass handed
heroics?
to him, which he why he needed Kirk's help to fight Sauron in Generations. But in
Yeah, but he gets
Contact,
his ass handed to him in like every fight because he's
No.
not a fighter.
Well, no, he's not. He's a diplomat, and he's
Right.
he tries to find the peaceful route.
So
Well,
he
no,
has
the part
to-
about
By the
that
way,
was
happy
always cool to
80th
me.
anniversary, happy 80th birthday to Patrick Stewart.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yeah, he's 80 today, and today Harrison Ford is 78.
Okay. What else? Oh, there's a new Batwoman, right? And she's not only is she black, she's lesbian. So there you go.
Okay.
And
okay.
I'm curious to see how this is all going to work because she's not going to be the original character. So I don't know what they're doing or where they're coming from and what they're planning on. But
Okay, so you think it's gonna end up being like another treatment of what they did to the Joker? Is it gonna be like a standalone thing, or is it actually gonna be connected to something?
Well, every piece of DC content is all part of the multiverse. I mean, we know this.
right. Well, and the problem is that I get the impression that they're keeping most of the rest of the cast and everything from the CW show. It's just they're putting supposedly somehow she becomes the new Batwoman.
A new character.
Right.
New ground we're breaking.
In fairness, I've seen the actress before. She was in God Friend of Me. I liked her in that. I think she's a talented actress. I just think that this is just a mess.
Well, I think they should
really
have kept. Well, I hope she can be successful in the role. And from what I saw, I liked Ruby Rose. So.
Yeah, there's talk on both sides about what the story is with that. Just like I'm curious because it's like, okay, so what happened? It's like, and now they're like, well, that will be the mystery about what happened to Ruby Rose and why. It's like, great. Does that mean you're bringing her back at some point for a cameo, or what does that mean?
Will there be a passing of the torch, or just going to be like the second Darren in Bewitched?
Yeah, exactly. So,
You know that nobody's gonna know the difference.
Well,
yeah, the other thing
we're gonna know the difference.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's gonna know the difference, but everybody's hoping, it'll be smooth when it isn't.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing that doesn't make any sense to me, okay, which is, okay, at least Kate Kane was related to Bruce Wayne, okay? Now, the person who's Batwoman isn't related to Bruce Wayne, and one of the questions that's always been there is what happened to Bruce Wayne, and where is he? But will it even fucking matter anymore? I don't know. I don't know based on the fact that you're changing characters entirely. I mean, I guess it could be amusing where he walks into the cave and goes, "Who the fuck is this?" I don't even know who the hell this is, and why the hell how did they get here, and what happened? I don't know. It's too bad because I'm sorry. That's the other thing. Apparently, HBO Max is going to be doing a Gotham PD show based on the Batman movie that's coming out with Pattinson.
That's not coming out till October of next year.
Right. So apparently they're working on. They think it's going to be. To me, I kind of laugh because didn't they just do that with Gotham? So now they're going to do it again, just with this Batman show.
Maybe if they do it like a year one kind of story, maybe. Would be
yeah,
cool.
Except they're not going to have Batman in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where. I mean, we just got through this, which is the whole. And this is the part I laughed about was okay. You have a Gotham show, and here's the good news. And here's the thing: you don't have Batman. This is all supposed to be Gotham before Batman. And all they did was kept bringing in Batman villains, and that didn't make any sense. That hadn't been around yet. And oh, by the way, they kept like basically bringing in the Bruce Wayne character to like where it's like Bruce Wayne, who's like not even like 12, is like a hero already. It's like, what the fuck? It's dumb.
Makes no sense to me.
But,
okay, so we have anything else, or we get ready to wrap
Stargirl?
up?
Well, I mean,
Stargirl?
Oh yeah, that we. I got caught up on Stargirl this last weekend, so I missed part 2. So we're in part 2 of Shiv, and yeah, I'm digging it. I like it. I like the whole angle with now the school bully is now obviously direct relation to the Dragon King. So yeah,
is that who that is? Is that the Dragon King, or is that
the ISA? Yeah,
is that
the dude in the hood? Yeah, he's the Dragon King.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Ito, but it's weird because I didn't think Ito looked like that, and I thought they were trying to go for that whole Cobra. What is it? The Serpent Squadron guy, the Cobra guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. It's because I think.
Well, he has the dragon across the front of his mask.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I'm digging it, and it's cool that she knows Courtney is Stargirl. I'm like, oh, that was like, does she not? And I'm like, oh crap. But yeah,
does she or does she? Only your hairdresser knows.
No, right.
Only your hairdresser knows.
Yeah. So the hair's the dead giveaway. Yeah.
Knows. Yes, the hairdresser knows. They talk about it in the they talk about
it in the trailer.
And now the jilted boyfriend, and now he's got brainwaves powers, and so now we'll see what happens next week if he can learn to control them. If he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy, probably not. Good guy, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm digging it.
It's weird because at one point in the comics he is for a little while a good guy, and then he kind of flips at one point. So we'll see.
Yeah, but being Wildcat's ex-boyfriend, that's gonna make it interesting for next week. So we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, Stargirl, I'm digging it.
The only other thing I got is, and DC Comics announced this week, this past week. 40th anniversary of the New Titans #1.
Okay.
Did you own a copy of that?
I did. I did. Before everything was gone, before I got rid of everything, I had the first 5 issues. I at least had 5. That was my biggest collection, was my Titans collection. I didn't have everything, but I had a lot of it, and I mean, truth be told, beyond the book, if you look at where the scope of things are today, in terms of what is going on with some of DC Comics and some of the characters, I mean, just like we just talked about Justice League, we talked about Cyborg. Cyborg was founded 40 years ago. He's part of the Titans. Starfire, who's a huge character, again, this was that group.
Yeah.
The changes that took place with Dick Grayson, with him becoming Nightwing, that happened here. Deathstroke has become a huge, Slade Wilson Deathstroke has become a huge character for them. Again, started here. There's, and that's not even talking about the things like the artwork and the writing and just how amazing of a book it was for its time frame. It set the pace. At a time when everybody was talking about the X-Men, the other book you were talking about was this New Titans book. And it really was that book. And for DC, for a long time, this was the book. I mean, it was the #1 book that they were selling. Not Batman.
Yeah. But we have Stan Lee to thank for that, because he was the first one. He was the trendsetter for having a teenager as a hero, his own superhero, not just a sidekick. They were heroes in their own right. The young people who could relate to the heroes in the comic books.
Well, and it's funny because in reality, Marv Wolfman had been with Marvel, and I don't remember all the details as to why, even to this day, Marv Wolfman and Marvel are not. He's never worked for Marvel again, and I know it has to do with money, and it has to do with rights and royalties and stuff like that. But he walked basically across the street to DC, and one of the first projects he did was he sat down with George Perez. George Perez is truly, people talk about, okay, if you wanted to sit there and talk about comic book legends and who is one of the, if you had to sit there and say top 5 comic book artists of all time, George Perez better be in your top 5. He just better be. And for some people, he's number 1. For me, he's number 1. And without this book, here's how important this is. This book is the reason why we see the Wonder Woman that we see today, even that Gal Gadot does. Because all of that eventually got developed by George Perez when he took over the Wonder Woman book in the late 80s. And again, all that starts because of this New Titans #1 book from 40 years ago.
And there you go.
And I just, seriously, even today, it's sad because the Titans book now is not nearly what it was back in the day. And then they've tried to make that book what it used to be. And I don't know what it is. They just don't do a very good job with it, and they can't seem to figure it out. But it used to be the book when it came to DC Comics. Maybe one day it will be again. Maybe they'll figure it out at some point. So,
one can only hope.
But I don't know. Was there any? I don't remember if there's anything else news-wise.
I just have one more thing. That over the weekend they dropped the trailer for the Star Trek Lower Decks animated series.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rick and Morty in space. And okay. I'm watching it. I'll watch it.
I mean, I saw the rushes on it, and
yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it'll be good. I'll watch it because it's Star Trek.
Yeah, but it just goes back to my argument before that. Seems like that style of animation is now showing up everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and
it's not even that. It's just like it's funny. I was having this conversation with John Suntress, who's a huge Star Trek fan and does the Word Bowling podcast. And like he said to me, and I don't know if I love your take on this, Mike. It's like they don't know how to make Star Trek anymore.
Yeah, like Picard became like, what was it? A friend of mine said it was like, it's just Picard and the Space Pirates. Like, like Star Trek in the traditional sense, So of course, it all started with Orky and Kurtzman, where they made the Abrams Trek, and then they made it into Star Wars pretty much, more action oriented. And then when I was gone for a while, and then it came back in the form of Discovery and Picard. Now, Discovery has found its way in Season 2. I really liked Season 2 of Discovery. And now if we're getting a Pike show of the Enterprise like before Kirk, I'm all in on that. I'm excited for that. But for this show, it's just like, it's Star Trek. It's in the Star Trek universe, but it's not the Star Trek I know. And not the Star Trek I want, but I'm still going to watch it.
See, to me, it's interesting.
It's a new slant on the whole Star Trek idea. Maybe they're just trying to reinvent it for newer audiences, maybe?
They're trying to, but they're not doing a very good job of it.
Okay, see, so, I mean, some things you can reinvent and bring the throngs along, but, okay, two things, okay? Okay, from the original till now, and so many different variations and configurations, okay? And now, that's the one thing, okay? So a lot of people and a lot of stories have come since the beginning of Star Trek, okay? And not any one person has followed that fluidly from start to finish. So it comes down to this. Continuity, what part of Star Trek are they trying to go for? Well, it's in the viewing, but here's my second point, okay, and that is just the animated style is just too familiar, too much. There's just too much of this type of animation going around, and it's just like more of the same.
I can learn to get past the animation style, but it's the comedy style that we've seen before. It's this, now I want to say sophomoric, and it's the same problem I had with the Harley Quinn series.
Yeah.
It's irreverent, quick for laughs, and almost like dark humor to the point. Where you'll see people getting mangled. It's like there's a show in the trailer. They show that one of these new crewmates who's going to be one of the main characters of the show. She steps into sickbay and she's like, "Here, hold this." And it's a dude's organs. That's and the dude's on the bile bed, hanging on for life, and she has to hold his organs in his hand. That's the kind of comedy we're going for. I'm like, oh.
Well, we're going for we're going for the gross factor. Which of course, again, going to the lowest common denominator as well as just catering to the children, younger demographic who, here's a way we could go ahead and spoon feed Star Trek to the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is that there's people making the argument that the Orville got it right as far as finding the vibe, finding the mood for Star Trek. I'm sure it has more comedic value to it. It's more comedy-based. But there's still some serious stuff, some real moral issues that are going on in the Orville show that's catching that whole vibe of Next Generation.
Right.
Well, to me, here's the interesting part. As somebody who's not really a Trek person, but, in the 90s, I did enjoy quite a bit of what was being done. I enjoyed Next Generation. I enjoyed Deep Space Nine. I was iffy on Voyager. I really didn't watch Enterprise. But you get the idea. And to me, what's really interesting to me is, I enjoyed Picard because it was a continuation of that universe.
Yeah.
And to me, one of the things that's been interesting is when they went to do all this reboot stuff, okay, they rebooted the characters, they rebooted Kirk and all that stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But to me, I kind of laugh because there's an entire generation of Trek fans who it's like, my captain of the Enterprise isn't Shatner. It's
right.
Stewart. It's Stewart. And so to me, it's like, okay, I'd like to see that story those stories and that timeline move forward, and they're more interested in moving backward and telling stories from, before Kirk. And I'm like, I don't care anything about it. Yeah, I'm done with it. I'm not interested in that stuff.
Oh, I am down. I want.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I know you are. I'm not.
No.
I'd rather see what's going on now.
Yeah.
What's happening in the world.
Well, you want to see it at times. Yeah.
I want to see what's going on in technical, and that was the one interesting part about Picard was we got to see what the Federation and what the Star Trek world sort of looks like.
Yeah, like in the aftermath of the Dominion War and the
destruction
of the Romulan homeworld and
right.
the displacement of the Romulan people.
Right, and all that, and it's funny, I have friends of mine who are like, well, Jeff, that's in books. Okay, that's great. I don't have time to read all the books. I want to watch the shows. Give me a TV show that talks about that stuff, and I'm in. And they're not interested in making that show except for Picard. And Picard, the only reason they made that show was because Patrick Stewart's a huge star, and Patrick Stewart was willing to do it. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made any shows about that time frame. They still wouldn't be making shows about the future or anything like that, about that stuff. I mean, to me, that's the part where, and I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority of Gen X fans, but to me, I'm not interested in going back to the past again. I feel like we've done all these things already. Let's move forward. But that's just me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe I'll feel differently. Maybe the Pike thing will be good. But so far, all this stuff where they go backward has been shit.
Well, it's because nobody knows how to go back.
You didn't like season 1 of Discovery? Did you watch any Discovery?
I watched the first 4 episodes.
You watched the first? Okay, you couldn't get first.
I watched the first 4,
okay.
And after the first 4, I couldn't do it. And I still have access to CBS All Access for a little bit longer. So in theory, I could be watching them. Yeah. I've chosen not to.
I'll have to re-up when Lower Decks comes. I'll buy a month, and we'll see how Lower Decks is. But so okay, well I guess that'll do for this week. We're a little long here.
Yeah, we're
so we started a little late.
Yeah, someone's busy with his 5,000 plus records.
Oh, he's immersed in his hobby, so it's all good.
You know, the only thing I can say to that is, here's what I pictured Ivan's apartment is like. Remember, I don't know if either one of you remember, there used to be a comic store in Chicago called Larry's Comics. Okay?
Nope, never been there.
And you could go into Larry's Comics, and, you know, everybody talks about board and bagged and all that kind of crap. Okay? And that's not, Larry kind of had those. Larry also had where, like, literally there were stacks of shit, like, piled high. And you never knew what could be one of those stacks. You never knew.
So you had to just start digging.
You know, and the best is with that store. Like I had a friend of mine tell me a story. This was back in the I think the early 90s or the late 80s. Okay, where he went into Larry's, and there is like a leaflet copy of all the issues that, like, where Jason Todd gets killed. And to find those was, like, impossible. And Larry's got them. And they're in a stack. They just happen to be in a stack. And they had been there for apparently they had been there for a couple of years. And they were clearly, like, first editions. Okay? And Larry's like, and he says to the guy, Larry, he goes, how much for them? And he was like, oh yeah, cover price.
Nice.
I mean, I just imagine Ivan's apartment to be like stacks of like these records, and it's like, oh yeah, here's a record. It's worth probably a few $100. Yeah, it's here.
You're right. But you know, but the thing about it is that I had the good fortune of running across these things. I mean, it's also in the knowledge of it. I mean, you know your stuff, Jeff. You know your stuff, Mike. Like I know my stuff. And you know what it is. And you know that there are people out there that if given the opportunity to see it for themselves within your collections, I mean, would you? I mean, if they really wanted it that badly, if they really wanted it that much, what would you do?
Huh?
What do you mean, what would I do? I'd be like, oh, cool. If I can get it for a good price, sure.
All right. Now they say, look, I've been looking for this for a long time, and okay, I'll pay you whatever you want me to pay for it. Could you in good conscience, scalp that person?
Scalp?
Yeah, scalp.
I mean, if it's a good price, it's not scalping.
No, I mean, if you give them a good price. But you got a lot of people out there that they're despicable. And they'll take a person right over the hump. But would that be in your character?
I don't understand what you're. Do you understand this, Mike? Or
okay. Let me put it this way: if I came up to you, Jeff, and I said, okay, you have a Chewbacca on the card, mid-sealed, untouched, and it's a color variant.
And purple.
What?
Purple.
Okay, well, purple variant.
Purple Wookiee.
It was a purple Wookiee, which basically was a factory error.
Okay.
And like maybe 10 of them got out there, and you just, by happenstance, it fell in your lap. And of course, you got a guy who comes in and says, okay, I'm that guy. Hey, Jeff, I'm really looking for the elusive purple Wookiee. You wouldn't have happened to know anybody who had the elusive purple Wookiee. And then you just go ahead and say, well, I got the elusive purple Wookiee.
Yeah, right here in my pants.
Oh,
Hello.
hi-yo.
Whoa!
We'll be here all week.
Okay, and on that note, folks.
You just set me right up for it. I'm like sitting there.
I know. I did that because I knew you were going to go there. No, but would you sell to me for face, or would you just try to make money off of me?
Oh, we're gonna make the money.
It depends on who it is. I mean, if it's someone who's a friend of mine. I mean, well, see, here's the problem. Is it a friend of mine who's going to keep it and then not go out and sell it for like 5 times the value? Or is it a friend of mine who's gonna keep it, they're gonna use it, they're gonna like it, whatever? Because there's a difference.
But notice I said me, and of course, when I say me, I mean me. Yeah, the person who's looking for it, who's gonna love it, cherish it, and hold on to it forever.
Yeah, but that's different if I'm selling it to a friend like that. That's different. But
okay.
Now in fairness though, Ivan, I will say this: depending on how much that's worth. If that's a car payment or a house payment or you get the idea. That
okay,
I mean,
to feed my family.
Right.
Okay.
Well, hey.
Okay. So here we go. So this 10 purple Wookiees out there that just got out there into the world, and now you go to Evil Bay and somebody's selling it for, let's say, $6,000.
Okay. If that's what it's worth.
That's the market value.
Is that the market value? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the market value.
Well, okay. For $6,000, that could start. There's a lot of things I could do with $6,000 that would basically change my world.
And we'll put it this way, and if you had told me, Ivan, market value is $6,000, let's break even. I would pay you that $6,000. I get it. But if you did that for somebody else, would you charge that person $7,000 for that?
Depends.
It depends on the individual. It's and
it depends how much of a dick they're being.
That's right.
Okay.
Is it
Fair
Al
enough.
from Al's Toy Barn, or is it just some a collector who's going to love it?
Or is it some schmuck who's looking on eBay going, well, it says on eBay it's 6. So really, in reality, I was thinking I should get it for $550 because I got to make a profit here.
I get it. No, I get it.
Yeah.
And believe me, I know exactly what you're saying. I do. Okay.
That guy gets it for $8,000.
No, he gets it for.
He gets the purple Wookiee right up the ass. This is what he gets.
Yeah,
he gets the purple Wookiee
with lube, without lube.
That's right.
Without lube. Okay. But yeah, no. See, because
and that bandolier is going to hurt on the way in.
Yeah, speaking of lubing things up, we should definitely lube things up and get the hell out of here.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw the
wrench.
No,
hey, it happens.
So, where can they find us, Mike?
We're on Instagram and Twitter at SOTRT Podcast. We're on YouTube. Click the bell, subscribe. When you get new content. Of course, all the crazy stories from our extra show, our little bonus content that we provide, almost like a director's cut to our podcast. Is our News of the Squared. Shout out to Scott.
Scott!
So like us on our Squares Roundtable Facebook page. You can listen to our show on the usual podcasting hosting platforms, Google, Apple, Spotify, and PodBean and Anchor. And, of course, send us an email if you like, sotrtpodcast@gmail.com.
So thank you for being with us here at the Squares of the Roundtable.
Thanks for joining us, Ivan.
That's right. I will definitely be on time next week for sure. And you guys all take care. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch up with you next time out. Till then, bye.
Purple Wookiees.